First of all, you already have sibling bickering in any family. But when you add stress and then you add sheltering, what you have is a problem. So let's look at what we do know will reduce it. And the good thing is science is on our side. Do know that usual battles, if you have a 2- and a 4-year-old, it's about every 10 minutes. So if you are a mother of a 2- and a 4-year-old, I bow down to you. But there are some other things of when to worry. 4 factors are the worry factors. When those arguments just continue and they are skyrocketing, or you see more and more in terms of animosity starting to increase. You're also looking at kind of walking on eggshells around your family, or they're starting to affect one another. Final one is watch out if there's any kind of abuse. And I'm talking verbal or physical, Gino. We do now know that most bullying starts not on the playground, but in our own homes. And that's the wake-up call.
All right, let's talk about that last one before we move on. I don't know how other people treated their brothers and sisters, but I know how it was in our house. And I would say that some of the language was bordering on cruelty and more than a little physical, I don't know if it's abuse, but, you know, we beat each other up pretty good. Sneaking up behind your brother and smacking him in the head's part of being a brother. How do you know when that crosses the line?
It crosses the line when you know what your family values are. And when you realize any of those 4 dynamics that we just put up, they're starting to increase, it means you're now walking on eggshells and you're talking about family dynamics that are going to go out the window. Plus, you know that your child is now going to be copying those behaviors and they're going to be using them at school. So stop them. What we're now going to do is look at how you turn that around. 1 in 3 adults already, Gino, is saying that they did have that kind of relationship. So we can flip it, but we got to be a little more consistent and intentional about it. The first thing is we got to start looking at what causes the rivalry and what causes the bickering. And the first thing is we've got to stop any kind of comparisons or watch those labels, because kids say if there's favoritism, it's out the door and bickering will increase. Watch any kind of comparisons, but do stop them and make sure that if you do use a label, it's going to be one that's not going to be there the rest of their lives. It's going to be harming to them. The next thing is take a moment and just rest and say, when is the typical kinds of bickering happening in your home? It's not all the time, but there's certain issues that probably are causing it. Number one thing is to anticipate it, you can solve it. First, with younger kids, it's unequal distribution of toys. She's getting all those and not me. So a simple solution on that one is bins for each kid with similar kinds of toys. But if that's your bin, that's her bin, that alone will help solve the problem. There's dividers that you can use in bedrooms, but other things that you may want to consider. The biggest problem right now is computers, because everybody needs one. If you don't have one for every child, then you better look at each kid's schedule and say, when's the virtual learning absolutely important, and he needs to be able to use that computer, then set it up and stick to that guideline. Oven timers are a godsend, Gino, particularly if he's got the Monopoly game longer than me or she's always on the TV longer than me. So you just set it for 30 minutes. It's your turn. When the oven timer goes off, now it's your turn. And what'll happen is you'll begin to see that kids will use those even without you. You also want to stay neutral. The more we get involved, actually, the more bickering begins to increase. So little bit of rules of thumb before we teach the kids the rules. The first is be more of a sportscaster than a referee. And you may want to use a rule in your house, no tattling, unless it's going to keep your brother or your sister out of trouble or out of danger. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Now we've got the, so what are we going to do instead? And I think, Gina, what most teachers will say is our kids these days are not using problem-solving skills. Couple ones that you may want to consider. Oldies but goodies are absolutely a sanity saver. Rock, paper, scissors, bring them back. Could be drawing straws or throwing a coin. Heads you win, tails you're out. All of those not only work in our own home if you model them, but they can also work out there in the real world when those school doors open up. Kids love them, and I'm talking teens as well. And their final little thing that I'd strongly suggest, if there's one intervention that it's got to be the absolute one that science says is a gold mine, are family meetings. You've still got time to enforce them. Now, here's the thing about family meetings. There's certain rules that you set ahead of time, not in the heat of the moment. But rule number one could be everybody gets a turn. Everybody gets an equal turn. There's no put downs allowed. You may respectfully decline or disagree, but you've got to be calm when you do it. Then you also everybody gets a turn to talk, but only one person talks at a time. And finally, if there's any decisions we need to make, we make them by majority rules, so it's a democratic process. Keep those family meetings regular and routine. It could be every Monday when it's convenient for everybody. Keep them short for the attention span of the kids. It could be 10 minutes or 30 minutes based on your own family dynamics. Just take a moment to figure out what are the basic concerns that the kids are concerned about. It could be a suggestion box that you have in your own home that, you know, the chores problem, Mom, they're just not working, or he never lets me use the Game Boy anymore. Whatever it is, empower your kids. Keep practicing those wonderful little rules. And you know what happens is, once again, the family dynamics will improve and kids will be using problem-solving skills for the rest of their lives. We've got to start teaching our kids problem-solving skills. That said, it's not like you do it at 6 and expect the kid to be able to do it at 7. You make it into a ritual and routine. Anytime you teach a brand new habit like this, you model it, you show it, and then what you do is you finally get the kid to do it with you until they can do it alone. My favorite above all else is an acronym that I designed way back when called STAND. S-T-A-N-D, because you can use it from little ones to bigger kids, and there's really 5 steps to it. The first S is you stop. Anytime the tensions are up, that's when everybody stop and you calm down. Or you remember we did a couple of weeks ago that calm down signal where you just put your hand out and say, I need space, but you can't think when you're out of control. Then T is even a 4-year-old can do it. Tell what's bugging you, but you take turns telling without putting down the other person. iMessages are great. I'm really upset that you never let me have a turn and I'd like a turn, please. The other kid also gets a chance. So you can model that one. A is the gold mine, and that is you teach your kid how to brainstorm other options. What else could you have done besides hitting your brother? But it's coming up with options. I think brainstorming is the wonderful one. Even with little kids, you put up your hand and let's just name for thumb, what's the problem? And now pointer, middleman, ringman, let's come up with other options. And is narrow them from all the choices you had there and you came up with, and by the way, keep a poker face because some of the options kids will come up with are just off the wall, but is the one that you feel comfortable doing and still abides by our family rules. You narrow it. Now decide, and that means you shake hands and you do it. Are you going to be able to do that tomorrow? Absolutely not. But that is your goal from 2 until the kid finally graduates and leaves the house, because he'll have those skills the rest of his life, and you just can keep modeling it. Just put that poster on your refrigerator, S-T-A-N-D, and you'll find dozens of ways to weave it in every single day in your home. Stop trying to make yourself into a to-do list, because we are exhausting ourselves and we're hitting the burnout level. Your basic thing right now is to ideally take care of yourself, like put your oxygen on before you put it on the kids, so that you can really be present with your child. That said, how do you do it? Watch your own stress levels. Take care of your kid. If you want to put a do not disturb sign on your bedroom door or put an alarm, Mom needs 5 minutes or 10 minutes, please do it, because what we're seeing is really the stress levels mounting. And the best way to take care of our kids is model calmness so our kids can be calm. It's not easy because we're dealing with a very, very stressful time. But if we get our priorities right and just come up with, Gino, one little thing that we think will make a difference and add it to the plate and keep doing it, if you do it for around 21 days, research says that's how you change a habit. And that's exactly the time frame we've got for all of this. We can do it.
So maybe a sock or a necktie on the doorknob, something like that to indicate Mom and Dad are busy right now.
Yeah, that's what you really need to build in. You time, me time. We're so used to doing it all for our children. By the way, our kids need to learn how to occupy their own time. They need to be comfortable with what that's called boredom. Boredom means find something you can do. Boredom boxes are great in a house. You've got a bin of books, go for that one. Or you've got a bin of puzzles, or teach them how to play solitaire. Because the rest of their lives, they're going to need to be able to feel comfortable. And you've got to stop figuring out that you've got to be cruise director all the time, or you will be exhausted and burn out yourself.